Welcome everybody to our latest series in the Truth and Reconciliation work podcast dialogues. From this year onwards, we have started a special podcast for this theme. We've had some incredible sessions with speakers since the 10th of July, the full moon. And I'm your host, Nilima Bhatt, and I have with me today a very dear friend, someone I consider as an elder, a wise woman. She may not describe it herself, but she's perhaps one of the most enlightened people I have the privilege of knowing. So thank you so much for joining us on the call, Andrea Henning. She is with the organization called Lead True. It used to be called Tiara Consulting, Tiara Leadership. And these are also co-faculty with me on the Shakti Fellowship program. And it's been an absolute privilege to work with her and walk with her for many, many years now. So welcome, Andrea. Some opening remarks maybe from you. What brings you to today's session? Why did you accept this invitation?
First of all, who resists an invitation from you, Nilima? Because you are such a leader in this movement, the Shakti movement and integration movement and wholeness movement. So whenever I get a chance to find a place that you think I could shine a light on, I am in. And I just realized that it's quite some years now that we are traveling together. I didn't even realize that. So thank you for having me, inviting me here, and let's see what the dialogue, where it brings us, because we never know, right?
Yes. So actually, because you and I are such believers in honoring the emergent, honoring our capacity to get present, and then from that place of presence, really allowing the higher wisdom that seeks to enter the space for whoever is joining, whoever is going to listen today and in the future. So keeping that in mind, I just want to overview what has happened with this year's theme on truth and reconciliation. I kind of tune in every year to say, what is the burning issue that the collective can perhaps address together? And last year was decolonizing ourselves. And this year it felt as if with all that's happening in Israel and Gaza, Russia, Ukraine, Kashmir, and it just feels like there are all these incredible lands that hold conflict, right? And how much pain and suffering they continue to have, and that it goes back centuries sometimes, right? And we don't necessarily see an end in sight. Just when we think things are getting better, it feels as if something upsets the peace process. And it's something of a horror show, right? Like, how many people have to die before we can wake up? And what would these lands, if everything carries energy, what would these lands be carrying in their energy field? And those of us who walk those lands, who are deeply interconnected with those lands, how would we be holding that trauma, right? Just like the body keeps the score, the land must be keeping the score too. And that which lies unhealed will continue to perpetuate itself until someone says the buck stops here and we shall heal this and not take it forward. So what is this interdependent relationship between us and the lands we belong to? This is what the series is about this year. The Land Keeps the Score, Healing Ideology Impacted Histories. And I have been in awe at the way it has unfolded. Day one was Kashmir, and we had two Kashmiri Hindus and two Kashmiri Muslims talk about their yearning and their longing for harmony and a return to the paradise that Kashmir is supposed to be. It is like the Milton idea of paradise lost, and how can it one day be paradise regained? Then we had Rashi Bani talk about telomeres, which are these strands of, DNA, RNA inside our cells, and how they can participate in not just regenerating our bodies, but also our land, because the two are strangely in a quantum field interconnected. So it was quite esoteric and deep. We've had Elena do healing inherited grief. We did a lot of understanding and working on the grief we hold in ourselves. We had Juanita Roberson again go deeper into the wound of slavery in the US and describe the Daguerre medicine wheel and the 5 elements, and how all of us kind of hold one of them as our core element, and how that element can become a force of transmutation of what we hold for the collective, and how we can show up in that way. We had Ria D'Souza yesterday, who was just mind-blowing for me, because here is one woman whose body seems to hold what happened to the migrants during COVID, and she got blisters on her feet. And, so I'm just kind of blown away by where does the person and the body of a person end, and where does the land they belong to begin? And where does healing really begin? Can the land heal and that heals the person? Can the person heal? Can that heal the land? The macrocosm, microcosm. So this brings me so perfectly to the theme you chose, isn't it? Look at the way this has progressed. Your theme today is the drop is the ocean, how your story heals the whole. And you're going to talk about how each one of us can move from fragmentation to wholeness, right? And you have said our lives are not random. They are sacred assignments woven into the fabric of collective healing. And in this session, we hope to be transformative, because it will explore how understanding our fractal assignment can shift us from being victims of what happened to empowered leaders and authentic truth tellers, right?
Right.
So with that, over to you, Andrea. Thank you, first of all, for holding this invitation for the last 2-3 months. And I know you have already processed a lot in your psyche, in your body. And what you bring us today is a kind of a ripened fruit, I think, of this theme. So over to you.
Yeah. First of all, when you asked me for this theme, I thought, but there are so many people who have their land and history and ancestry front and center to their path. And I have it also because I am from German origin, you could see, but it's not like my entry point to my journey. And so when we talked about it, I realized that there is this sacredness, but also uniqueness to all our personal journeys. So our life actually is the prayer, you could also say. And I think we should start with a given that we carry polarity. So being part of being part of the healing also means that we carry our own polarity. And so also when then I relate to my own land, it also carries its own polarity. And this is often where it gets really, really tough, because in this polarity, we are also enduring a lot of pain, a lot of, especially if your story is very much tied to trauma, whether it's personal trauma or land trauma, collective trauma. It takes something to rise above the trauma. And therefore, I have felt, and this is actually my work for many years now, that once we get it, that our life actually is the epic story, is what movies are made of, and we get it. What is the fractal? What is the piece? What is the where that comes with polarity that we hold, that is our own? Then we get dignity, and really all the oh, you have a more traumatic life than I, or I'm so glad that I didn't get cancer, and all these things where we then compare really falls away, and we own this fractal, and this is our journey. We work with it, and the polarity piece is part of it. So when yesterday you were, I was there when we had our talk with Reha, and she is an empath, and she carries actually what I now call like the ecological journey. And I know a lot of empaths now who really sense when there's a volcano going off, or who sense the pain of the earth or the collective pain of something, and they get physically involved there. And then like how then to find a way to hold that and not fall into despair. And then I see, if you know that it's yours to hold, then also the grace is coming in. You are graced with certain talents or certain people coming your way. Once you have the thread that you can follow, it's still hard. And I dare to say that all our lives have their own hardships. Whether you're the perpetrator or the victim, we carry the same wound. But there is so much grace also there to be able to endure and come to a place where we even endure with a certain kind of joy and pride that this is our life, our path. Yeah, so that's an entry I can go on in forever, but
Yeah. So let's go into the idea of the polarity, where, like, even Juanita says, the slave archetype is carried in both the one who enslaves,
yeah,
as well as the one who became the slave. They're two sides of the same coin. So in truth and reconciliation work, it's always about the oppressor and the oppressed, and how do we heal these stories. And someone like a Juanita will say that the responsibility lies with the one more healed. And actually, in a funny, strange way, the victim may be a little more healed than the perpetrator, because it takes a deeper loss of soul to have been a perpetrator. So if you have been at the victimhood end, then chances are you still have some connection to soul, right? And therefore grace. It's a very strange thing that those who went through the oppression perhaps have greater agency to rise out of it. And the oppressor had a greater soul loss, to have done what they did. And in a funny way, they seem to be more worthy of our compassion, true compassion, right? Not pity. It's so strange. It feels so unfair. Like, where's the justice, right? But at a higher spiritual level, it just feels as if the oppressor has lost more of themselves.
Yeah, but imagine, Nilima, like, let's just imagine that somehow, somewhere, we have staged all this in order to heal. And so we knew we have to go into the matter and play out the story to be able to heal. And just imagine that you could audition for the victim or the perpetrator. Yeah, which one? And you know that being the perpetrator, you know that you have to lose more of your soul than being the victim. For which one would you vouch? And so whatever it is, both sides have their own challenges and the road to cover. But I would say that once we, I always call it the +1 level. So we are in the polarity. We have our stories. We have also the stories of compassion and all that. And maybe still a little bit of comparison is there. Once you get into the bigger truth, the higher truth, you are at the +1 level. All of a sudden, things can look completely different, like the other way around. Like, wow, who's the courageous one here? Just as an inspiration that we don't know the whole story. So, but we can get really, really intimate with our own story, and our own story, also our own fractal that we hold, where the polarity is there, something that we deeply, deeply, deeply care about, and we are deeply, deeply, deeply afraid that we would lose or not living up to it. That's our material here. And so the more intimate you get with it, the more also you see your own shadow side, the things that you try to avoid, or you're kind of proud that you're not. There is a side of, there can be a side kind of pride that at least I am not the perpetrator. I am the victim. And I know that that might make you laugh because you don't know the story, but when I was growing up in Germany, and I was fortunate enough to be born in 1960. So when I went into our history books, it was really well done. So it was like really a truth and reconciliation from our past history. But secretly, I was very happy that my father and my grandfather, that they were kind of at the right side of the equation, you know. And I remember that my father was saying, like, really, really sincere. He said, "You know what? It was by accident that I ended up on the right side because I didn't want to march, and I'm not someone who takes authority." So, and I later only experienced that it was really, really dangerous when a couple of these youngsters that were not in the Hitler youth, but somewhere, they just were hanged. But he didn't realize. So from an early stage on, I got the broader story. So I didn't get stuck in one narrative. However, the narrative that kind of my family was kind of at the right side for a long time, it gave me some comfort. And later on, I saw how ridiculous that was. So also, let's be aware of where our own pride, our own ego pride still hides somewhere, like that we are glad that we are that and not that, because there's something to look at. There's something to heal, to surface.
You know, you and I adore Rumi, Mevlana Rumi,
Yes.
and among his many quotes, the one that you go to often is "Beyond right doing and wrongdoing is a place, and I'll meet you there." It feels as if humanity has ripened or boiled over to a point where we have to meet in that third place now, right? That's the only way we are going to be able to survive and reconcile and yeah, otherwise we're going to self-destruct because the shoe will always go on the other foot. You know, each perpetrator feels like the other one's victim, right? So it's like each one identifies as the victim and makes the other one their perpetrator. It's incredible. It's just so incredible. And so I just want to share a little bit about how, you know, someone like a Ria is holding the fractal of the earth consciousness, and that is her path to walk, and that is her assignment. I feel suddenly, thanks to these last 4 or 5 days, I feel my assignment, having kind of initiated this movement, I actually felt very fragmented all day today, and I could not explain it. And well, I could, because I noticed in the last few days, there's a strong urge in me for truth telling. And I have gone and, you know, kind of reached out with non-violent communication to a whole bunch of people who I needed to tell my truth. It's almost like it's been sitting in me for so long, but I cannot just let it remain unspoken, untold, right? And I realized and maybe it's because I know if we are doing a truth and reconciliation global movement, then where in my life, what lies unacknowledged, which truth needs to be shared, right? And so I've been doing a bunch of truth telling, but the truth telling makes me feel disoriented and fragmented because it's taken, I've suppressed these truths for so long because I did not want to upset a relationship or whatever, right? With very dear loved ones. And when you do that, you feel so unsettled and you feel fragmented. And just before the call, I went to the Samadhi. I live in Pondicherry, where Mother and Sri Aurobindo are. And I just sat there and I asked for my wholeness to return, and, you know, from fragmentation to wholeness. And only when I felt sufficiently, you know, ready did I show up for this call today. So just like Ria is holding her fractal, I'm curious how you would describe the fractal I'm holding. Just, just as an example for our listeners.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, you are actually holding the fractal for the life force. Like so that because when we are stuck in polarity, actually the life force stops, evolution stops. We get into this tennis match where this loop that seems without any door, and both sides are suffering, and so it becomes really hollow and dead. So you are the one who shows and weaves how we can get fluid again, how we can get juicy again, how we can get creative again, and stuff. And at the same time, what scares you is when it's getting dry, when we are in this tennis match of power over. So what we do then in this polarity, our own polarity within the fractal, we try to survive. So you try to not upset the apple cart too much. You try to, and we needed to in order to survive when we were little. When we were born into this fractal assignment, we needed to survive. So we were very, very skilled in knowing how to survive the system, because if you wouldn't have survived, like then nothing could happen. So it is kind of awesome that you survived so far. But now, like, okay, what is the cost of me surviving now? What is it that I now have to open up again and be courageous about, and be also messy about, that I avoided all the time in order to be able to stay alive with my assignment here. And this can be very, very unsettling. And again, you meet everything that takes so much courage to do it. Why? Because you kind of knew when you would have done it before, it would be dangerous. And I mean, let's honest, we all know that there are many, many lifetimes that it was dangerous. It was game over. It was game over. But my daughter said something beautiful the other day. She's also such a light worker and soul trooper. She said, "Mom, I know." She also had some guidance there. I know that for lifetimes and lifetimes, I never made it so far as I did this lifetime. She knew that, and I admit it. Yeah, I think none of us have. So we are there where we are, maybe for the first time where we ever were. But now what? It also feels unsettling. It's like we have prepared to arrive where we are now, and we are beyond some momentum. I am sure of that, but it looks still very fractured, and we have no script for that. So now we have to go into this creator mode that we also have been talking, this drama triangle that you can get stuck, and how you can get into what you so beautifully named the Dharma triangle, and in other literature it's called the winner's triangle.
Yeah, it's the work of, so the drama triangle is the work of Stephen Karpman. And then what I call the Dharma triangle is the work of David Emerald.
Yes.
He passed away recently.
Yes.
But,
Yes.
So honoring these amazing thought leaders. But do share about how you put the drama triangle in the context of today's subject.
Yeah. So getting back to us holding a fractal, and us holding the fractal also to kind of overcome polarity. This also means that we have this polarity inside of us. So it's like for a long time in our lives, it's just like we try and we fall back, and we try and we fall back, and we try and we fall back. And the drama triangle describes it from a different perspective, that what we get stuck in is like the victim, the perpetrator, and the rescuer, and then how we flip these sides, and we get stuck in really in an unhealthy but also immature dynamics. A lot of movies go about that we get stuck in this drama triangle, and for a long time I was not so much interested in the drama triangle because I knew it's not about the drama, how entertaining it might be, but it's about how do we get out of it. So then there came a period when I understood, of course, certain points that they say, okay, so the perpetrator has to become the challenger. So that's the truth teller. Because you know from the purity of your own fractal that this is the truth, your highest truth. Even if the other is not amused or defensive or whatever they can be, but that you tell your truth from your embodied knowledge, your embodied fractal. But then you have let's go to the rescuer, and they say the rescuer has to become the coach. Coach meaning I can ask you questions and I am in your corner, but you have to take your own responsibility somewhere. So I coach you, I hold you, and together with the challenger, you kind of get an idea what's really going on. And then you can get into the third part, which is like as a victim, you become the creator. But you know what, Nilima? I first have to understand that I am the creator. So it's not there is really, I am not a victim at all. I can be the creator. But in order to get into this creative space, I have to work with my fractal, with my shadows. I have to own my pain, my trauma without diminishing it, but kind of knowing that there is a mission, an assignment or a curriculum, like I sometimes call it, that is specifically yours. And that the coach in the triangle can be really compassionate about, and also the challenger can be really lovingly telling truth, the love of the sword. But at the end, like, we all have to get into this creator mode. And I think kind of this is just emerging, what it really means. And especially around COVID, and also lately with everything that's going on, I have seen the best people going back into polarity. And that really broke my heart. Like, oh, and I understand why it's difficult to hold up. Where are we drawing the line when we are seeing it? And then you think that you have to speak up for something, but you become the rescuer instead of that you become the creator, be on your fractal, follow, speaking your truth from this fractal and not from a moral high ground or too much pain or morality. And this is really, really difficult. And I have a lot of compassion when we fall off the wagon. But we need people who are able to hold this line even when it really gets tough. Yeah. I have really been kind of, how would you say that, maybe even disappointed or kind of amazed that how many people all of a sudden were in a certain corner. They left their lane because they couldn't endure what was happening in the world. Yeah. But here's the beautiful thing, Nilima, also, your own lane comes from embodied leadership. So, for instance, with Juanita, her own lane, she knows what she's talking about when she talks about the medicine wheel. I cannot talk about this medicine wheel from embodied knowledge. I only can be inspired and use some things for my own path here. So it's the person of knowledge, how in shamanism we say it, coming from a place of truth, that you have lived your truth, this wisdom, and then everybody is silent and listens to you, huh? But there is no whatsoever self-righteousness in it anymore. It's just, you know what you're talking about. And imagine that you know what you're talking about from the Indian perspective, let's see, and I know what I'm talking about from my journey, and how beautiful that we enrich each other. And then we come to this Rumi place beyond right and wrong, because you have gathered your wisdom and you can enrich my worldview with what you have gone through. And I can enrich your worldview with what I have been going through, and not as a only like, oh, I've healed from trauma. No, but I had an assignment that I now can offer to the world, like, this is what came out of my assignment here, and let's let's now gather the wisdom together. And what does it mean for creating, to go then from there into the creator role? Because if we don't do that, we will only create repetition there. And it will never get us towards this beyond of right and wrong place. So I would invite us all to listen to each other's story, because no one knows your story. You might think that you know because there's something that you can relate, but at the end you are not. No one knows what it means to walk in Ria's shoes and with blisters just out of the blue. No one knows it, and it's an amazing story. Yeah. And we all have that. So yeah, these amazing stories that we can take others on a journey into our reality to really know what it means to walk in your shoes. And that is what Iris also did. She took us into what it means to walk in her shoes. Yeah, and we do not know what it means to walk in someone else's shoes. Like, we don't have the people from Gaza here how to walk in their shoes. And I honor the people, and there are many, many initiatives who are able to foster dialogues, to foster conversations where I am coming from my truth, listening to yours, and that we then kind of understand each other in such a deep way, and maybe find a way to come into action or not. Because I know also from a shamanic perspective, reconciliation in the soul-to-soul meeting already opens a portal that this is possible, what wasn't possible before. Mm-hmm.
This idea of, always stick to your lane. What happened to you is not an accident, it's an assignment. And, discover the curriculum it holds for you, and then be in integrity and fidelity with your curriculum, which is uniquely yours to learn and work out. So stick to your lane. And therefore, sometimes your assignment may be to be the challenger, or your assignment may be to be the coach. So you have to create, regardless of which of the three positions you are in, you're always a creator. So if you discover that your role is to be the challenger, then create as the best possible challenger you are meant to be. Yeah. Right? That would living the dharma of the challenger as a creator. Of that role.
Yeah, there's one piece that cannot miss, and this is consciousness. So we have to wake up to a degree that we are conscious, and then there comes the next piece where we can witness the witness. So we have to be awake, because we cannot help it that some pieces shake us to the core, some images that shake us to the core. We cannot prevent or escape that. However, then when we stay long enough in this piece from consciousness, from being present, then I can also respond to whatever is there from consciousness. And there are, of course, a lot of people that they have not the level of consciousness that is needed to facilitate these dialogues. However, they can be participants in the dialogue, so that their consciousness also can become broader. And two things are important. First, that I get the space to really talk to you about what it means to be me, what it means to have been growing up with my ancestors, or whatever it is. So really to be in this place of, it's more than empathy. It's really like you journey with them. And then at the same time, okay, also make the space to now invite you to really journey with me there. So it's not only being listened to, it's also claiming your spot in what you want to be listened to by the world. Yeah, so find a way. And so we need also facilitation skills and really conscious people who can hold the tension when the self-righteousness, or yeah, I'm worse off than you, or I want to be acknowledged for my wound. Yeah, you can be acknowledged for your pain, but you have to take responsibility for your wound.
So we're going very deep now, Andrea, and the heroine's journey work, right, which is that descent into our own darkness, our fears, our, do you want to speak to the hero journey and the heroine journey in this context?
Yes, I will. And I will also name 2 other journeys, because you were the first who opened my my vision to that there are more journeys. So I remember the moment as if it was yesterday, that we were sitting in San Diego in the circle. And maybe you even forgot, and maybe it was channeled, but you were talking about that there were actually 4 journeys: the hero's journey, the heroine's journey, the journey to enlightenment, and the ecological journey. And I thought, wow. So then all of us have these journeys available, and we have all different entry points. And I could actually see where I was, where I kind of have wrapped up a certain journey, and where I was just starting a certain journey. And they all have their direction, they all have their purpose or goal, and they all have their pitfalls. So if you want me to go more into that, I can. However, the heroine's journey is the journey where you go inward, where the hero's journey is the journey where you go forward, and finding meaning in overcoming adversities, and finding the self-realization piece. That is also very, very important. But the heroine's journey is actually a journey into healing, and it awakens to inner wholeness. And this is so important, because the inner wholeness of the heroine's journey also how would you say that, involves our integration between the masculine and the feminine. And what I sometimes see is that we are so busy with the feminine journey that we forget that it's about reconciling the feminine and the masculine inside of us. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's so amazing that the journey is ignited, so initiated by betrayal. Mm-hmm. And we are still suffering so much, and there's so much still that wants to be seen.
Can the others go on mute, please?
Yes, Juliet, hi. So there's so much pain that we hold on to, this betrayal part, that we want to be seen for the betrayal. So it's again the perpetrator, victim piece. But I want to tell you a secret, and it might sound really out there here, but in one of my deep, deep shamanistic journeys that I have been immersed myself for the last years, I actually got the message that yes, it's the betrayal of the feminine that ignites the heroine's journey. But that was the only way that the heroine's journey could have been put into motion. And the women there, the goddesses and the priestesses and the whole female wisdom body came like, yeah, it was our idea. And I thought, what? Who am I going to tell that it was our idea? And the feminine actually convinced the masculine that was not amused at all to be the one to betray, but it had gotten so much out of whack. So now we have to get it all back. But we needed to go into the heroine's journey. The heroine's journey starts with betrayal. It goes into the inner womb. It kind of peels off every identity until that you are at your core naked, and then you are receptive for the inner wholeness there. And this is your journey, actually. yeah, this is you're the archetype for the heron's journey in my view. Yeah. Yes.
I'm laughing because, you know, recently I was on a very special day, important day that you know of. I was walking past the temple. It's just a street temple on the street I live. And the doors were open. And normally the goddess is fully dressed up, you know, with jewelry and beautiful ornaments, clothes, and so on. And she was completely stripped bare because on that special day, the priest comes to bathe her and anoint her and dress her up again. But for that brief moment, that exact moment, I was standing in front of her, seeing, it's called darshan, you know, it's like the goddess saying to me, this is the raw truth, the naked truth. And you are being stripped down to the naked truth. And that's me, right? You know, so it's as if she was saying, I'm right here with you. Um, so yeah, for you to say this, I had not shared this story with you, but it's beautiful how you have intuited it. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And here comes another beautiful thing. Like I say, our lives is our prayer. And whether you are immersed in really sincere Indian yogic path, like you are, or in any other path, or just that your life is the path and you take it really sacred. It's the same kind of principles that are tripping us off and showing ourselves. So when I came to that truth that was revealed to me, like it was our idea, and we did our best to convince the male to be the betrayer here. You know how we can have really good ideas, like this is the idea, and then we can be very convincing, only to think later like, oh my god, whose idea was that? Was this such a good idea? And this is also what we are in kind of now. But you know what? Eventually, the universe, the whole creation is always geared to wholeness. So whatever a cost is from this idea, it will find its way back. And with a lot of anecdotes and with a lot of like wisdom and with a lot of things that in our new creation we will not go there. Yeah. So and like Juanita said, like cost is not detriment. That was a very good reminder also for me. Huh? So it's never detrimental on the larger scale. And if we also can take that grace in our own lives, we are bubble wrapped. We are protected. We are protected by the purity of our intention, and it gets only dangerous when we kind of go and get lost in one of the polarities, or we doubt that we are on the right path there. And that's again why we need each other, because you cannot demand from yourself to never fall off the path, but we can help each other to remember, to help you remember, oh, this is your path and this is part of it, without disturbing your path, or only being the challenger and the coach, and then being your own creator and helping you create. And then slowly but surely we will arrive in this world. But it's pretty fresh. It's pretty emerging still, emergent.
You mentioned the ecological journey, and it kind of connects to the land keeps the score, right? So do you want to speak a little bit about that as
Yes, exactly.
well?
So
You know, I know your fractal seems to carry that, isn't it?
yes, and maybe I didn't even know that it carried that fractal so deeply. But since I was a kid, the one and only question that I had was, how do we live life? I saw all the drama, and from a very small age, I was already very quiet on tables so that they wouldn't send me away. I found it a lot more interesting, the grown-up discussions, than playing with my own age. So that was my question. How do we do that? Because I knew that it was meant to be lived. It was meant to be lived and experienced. I knew that, and I also could see what a mess it was all the time there. And then, because that was my question, and when you keep one question in your heart, really, it brings you into all these journeys. So it brought me on the path of enlightenment. I was never looking, and you mentioned, I was never looking for that peace. Never, ever. I have all these people who have spent 10 years in a temple, or who were actually on that path. I trapped on it per accident, which was not an accident. So I know that piece, and I can circle back to the truth of our true nature, to the awakening truth. But the ecological journey is actually the journey that so many people also are on, but also suffering, that everything's connected, that you feel the kindredness with the tree and the earth as a living being. So with all that everything's alive. However, and then like finding a way to living together with the whole, which is indeed the fractal that I'm holding without knowing it really. But the thing is, the shadow side of it is, and this is especially also when you are an empath, where you know, oh, this is part of me, but you can get an activist burnout, and you can really feel responsible for everything that's happening. So you cannot make one decision which shoes to buy, because you know, you can see the whole journey that these shoes have been traveling, and whether it's right or wrong. And this is true for all these journeys. When you're only on one journey, you get stuck in this dimensional. So you get stuck in a side of inertia here. So I also would love that the people who find themselves on this ecological journey, very much connected to the land, very much in rituals, to also know that the tree also knows and carries their own fractal. So we don't have to be only sorry for the tree. We feel the pain, and the tree is happy that it's seen in that. I had that experience with crocodiles, that a crocodile was very, very happy that I saw what it really was, but it told me at the same time, don't try to pet me in this 3D world, because I will bite you. So there's that. So also knowing, being ceremonial. I know that with Li Tru and my Tiara community, we make such a point to live ceremonially, but we had to make a point out of it. You guys live ceremonial. Your whole life is ceremony. But from a Western perspective, we are not brought up with that sacredness. So it is kind of reclaiming it back in our own way. And when you are in your lane, I like that. It also brings you to where you need to be. So I traveled a lot. So it brought me to Peru, to Mali, to a lot of other places where by the time then I didn't know why I needed to be there. Now I know when I am entering a place why I'm supposed to be there. And I do my own ceremonies. Have I been trained in the art of ceremony? Not the protocol per se, but the intention and the outcome is really, really real. So when you stay in your lane, it's not about doing it right, but doing it intentionally with love and sincerity, and then it will generate. Doesn't matter whether you take a card from the left hand or the right hand. No, as long as you are sincere and present, then you can have a ceremonial life. And then the ecological journey, then it will reveal yourself to you, what the tree wants to tell you, or the land wants to tell you. I know when we were in Terra Mera, we were really asking, what does Terra Mera want from us? And it speaks, but it's not something to pity. That is also the thing. This land is proud, like we are proud. It's not something like, oh, this poor land, or, oh my God, you poor thing, that because you have to grow up in. No, we are. It's dignity. Our life has dignity. and we cannot be with pity, you know, where your Juanita yesterday said, like, I don't need you as an ally. I need you to take care of your own wound. This is what we now need. Like, I don't need your pity. I don't, maybe even don't only need your compassion. I need you to be inspired to go and live your own life and be responsible for this fractal that I need you for, so that we together can move on. That would be my my call out, my shout out with this whole talk that we have.
That if you are a drop of the ocean and the ocean is in you, you also have a unique drop that is your assignment and curriculum. And if you stay within your drop and you find its truth and do the reconciliation within it of its polarities, you will have done your part.
Yes, and when you then extend it a bit, that this drop is the consciousness where it is, and by you taking care of, again, a fractal of this drop, you make the whole ocean conscious. Yeah, we can also say, like, when you realize something, when the fractal that you're on and you are studying and you are experiencing reveals something to you, a portal opens. So as soon as the revelation is there, the revelation is there for everyone, and it always has been, but that makes it a little bit too complicated. But the thing is that you have elevated the whole ocean by being this fractal in your drop, and this is the law of nature. This is what fractals are actually. That the pattern that you carry is the pattern in everything. So you kind of refine the pattern, and this refinement is then available in everything, in every single other drop of the ocean. And this is huge, Nilima. This is so huge. Like, I don't know if people can let it sink easily in that when you hold this assignment in yourself with all the challenges, but also your own inner knowing sacred, then you elevate the whole, and this is like a single person could create peace on earth by doing that. We are kind of in the vicinity, or we already have crossed it, I don't know, and now we are with the aftermath. The rest is there. I don't know that, but I know that we are that what Rumi says with being the drop is actually also we elevate the whole thing. One dialogue, one soul to soul meeting that wasn't there before makes it possible for everyone. It's opening portals.
This is so precious, and it kind of brings me back to the point you were making earlier, that a day comes where you walk alone and everyone, and even in the heroine's journey, right, like everyone just falls away and it's her with herself. Right, and that nakedness, with the betrayal from all the relationships, right, which were an act of grace. Yes. In some soul contract that she signed up for. So no real villains, really, just actors. Yeah, so I want you to also speak about how you have been doing these journeys where you dissolved completely into the earth. What was that experience like?
Oh my God. That's my latest one. And I thought, and I decided, like, let this be maybe the last one for some time, because it is, and it is part of the ecological journey that I wasn't even aware that might have been the biggest assignment, where I had to let myself die big time. And I have done, after my car accident a couple of years ago, I kind of was also, I woke up to, I have to do something. So I went into a shamanic path. I don't call myself a shaman, but I took it very seriously, the principles and the experience there. And as part of that, I also did some psychedelics journey. I was called to do them. I didn't do them because of boredom or stuff, but I was really called to do them. And the last one was, and when I had them, they were never funny. You know how I have this joke like, it's all one big joke, but it's not always funny. Now, it's really not funny what you experience. And I had such a resistance to let myself completely die because I was so afraid to leave the earth behind unprotected. So I was very close to the mother and the grandmother archetype, actually, like, our children have to be safe. Our children have to be safe. So I will not go away here without knowing that this time they are safe, because we had to come back all the time because they weren't safe. There was something was not completely solved, and the destruction and the pain and the trauma was just re-emerging again. So it was extremely difficult, and it was there inside of the journey. All my Tiara women were there. All my community were there in spirit, and they told me, you can let go, because if you wouldn't be here now, you made it, but now it's like you have to let go. And the letting go would mean like to let myself be composted. So it's not dying into and then flying to higher realms, but really being the earth itself, meaning that the light that we carry from the ecological journey, like knowing that we are living together as a whole ecosystem, that every single piece of this ecosystem now would have access to the knowing that it's part of the whole, which was not there before. So it is as if the mother has been like disintegrating completely in the most in the tiniest of fractals, and it's still going on, so that now this love and care is planted in every literally every single living thing. So also in every person. And what was very amazing in this journey was that my little grandsons were there, where one was born and the other one wasn't born yet. And we made a whole journey out of it, a whole like what it would be, a preparation for Earth, and that you can always remember the light in yourself, the light and the love in yourself, in the middle of being in the matter. And that was a sacred agreement that we had, that when you are in it, you can then shout like, okay, I need, now what? Like you can ask for help and it will be there immediately because it's inside of you. So the wisdom and everything that we have lived and every wisdom that we have gathered, now I had to let myself die and trust that it was enough and go. And it was extremely difficult to let myself die in this moment. And I also had all the help of people who put their hands on me. I mean, I cannot, like, I don't know. It might have been the single most difficult thing for me to do and let go, knowing that everything will be all right. Also carrying wounds where I have been tricked into going where it was not yet done. So that was my own trauma from my own fractal piece also showed itself there. How can I surrender and leave it now behind when before I was tricked and it was not so? Mm-hmm. So, but I did it. So yeah, I had to with the help of communities.
You tested and you passed the test, and it's as if you dissolved into the earth, so now you have become the earth.
Yes, exactly.
It's the same metaphor of the drop in the ocean, right? That or the river that goes to the sea, right? Mm-hmm. It trembles a little as it enters Khalil Gibran because it knows it's going to end. but what it becomes is it becomes the sea, it becomes the ocean. It gives up a limited self to become a more unlimited self. And yet it trembles in that moment.
Absolutely, and the trembling was severe. And just a little joke, I had my Fitbit on, so you lie still for hours and hours and hours, but my Fitbit granted me an extra 5,000 steps and 35 calories. So it was like as if I have been walking, and I was still the whole time. So
Wow.
yeah. One thing that comes to mind that makes it so precious to know that these 4 journeys are there, because I also saw many people who kind of get stuck in the enlightenment journey, like Adyashanti has been testifying to that so beautifully, because the waking up part, some people think then they are done when they are there. Because you wake up to your true nature, and this is an imprint. It's undeniable, and it's complete liberation. But what many people don't understand, and Adyashanti has testified to that, and since then I've seen it also when I look at the internet with the gurus who I know have taken this this journey, you have to then descend again. They have to descend. The only way from there is back down. And I mean, Sri Aurobindo and the mother a lot better, but this is why what makes me so kindred with their teachings, that it's the descent, and this is the heroine's journey. Like, and there are a lot of enlightened gurus, they are men. Okay, so now now do the heroine's journey, the journey of the heart, go inside. Mm-hmm.
Journey of the earth and the body, right?
Yes, exactly. And the matter, going deeper and deeper and deeper into the matter. And I don't know how deep it goes. We are still in it. We don't know, but it is as awesome and as mind-blowing and interesting and adventurous as every other journey. Like, it's also the never-ending story of going deeper and deeper, like the never-ending story, what it means to live from the true nature. But it's all of that. That's
So
that's the
mother describes going deep, deep, deep into the inconscient, and then finally she hits this wellspring of light that just pummels her all the way out into cosmic consciousness. So
Exactly.
basically, you hit a ground where it brings you back. It's a loop, you
It's a
know.
loop. Exactly.
It's a continuum from one end to the other, and the two ends are connected.
Yes, they are connected. And there is for a long time, and this is also when you are on your fractal, and you get intimate with your with this little piece of the diamond that you are, and you know that this diamond also, they have different cuts, and then it could be go into endless, and then it would be even more beautiful and vibrant. But when you are there, everything talks to you. So whether the music that you love, or the films the movies that you love, or the stories that you love, but also the things that you find hard to endure, that's then the flip side of it. It's all information about where you are and what you are. And so when we follow that thread and we take it seriously, it brings us like from adventure into adventure into adventure. And we then also find this universal truths at a certain moment, and we find people who have found this little piece of truth, but we are also the ones who find a little more of this piece of truth so that someone else can find it. It's all that. This is
I love it. We are a little past the hour, and I know there's no hard and fast time limit for us if we are in the flow and something important needs to be shared. I'm going to read out a quote that came to me, which is again connected to this drop and ocean theme. If our listeners have any questions, meanwhile, they want to raise their hands go ahead and do that while I read out this quote. It's the famous quote by William Blake, right? He says, "To see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wild flower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour.
Mm. Mhm. Can you repeat it, maybe?
Sure. To see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wild flower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour.
Yeah, yeah, that's fractal. That's what I mean, and it's like it resonates, and then living it and experiencing it, you find all kinds of treasures, but it's not yours to keep.
It's yours to experience.
It's to experience, but it's not yours to keep or hold on to. It's like then also like experience it and being taken into the next movement of infinity. Otherwise, we would disturb infinity. So also our romantic idea, like once we find it and they're living long and happy forever. This is such a joke, yeah. And it's also when it comes to grieving, like letting go of something we have found, also like, there we go again. It also then requires the art of grieving. Then we have to let go of something that felt belonging and felt so good for a moment. But this is being part of infinity, means like creation and being then destructed in the form and being a new creation. So learning that, also learning to live the infinite, learning to live the finite in form. That's also a lifelong assignment for all of us.
To reframe grieving as just the Kala Chakra of impermanence,
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
You know, I feel this hour with you, Andrea, has been like I lived eternity in an hour because you took us so deep and so wide beyond all polarity and duality. It really feels like you stand in that third place beyond right doing and wrongdoing. And just listening to you saying, women signed up for betrayal because that is the curriculum they needed to move into their next level of wholeness. And that they walk alone on that path, all those relationships that would have propped them up but held them back, fall away. It's very precious, very, very precious. And the fact that all the so-called villains are just you and the two are one. And it's all this inner reconciliation. The war was always within, right? Where there is a hero, there is a heroine, but there's also a villain. And this kind of trinity plays out inside each one of us until it gets reconciled. And all the relationships outside of us are mere mirrors of what's going on inside of us. So it's just very, very precious, very humbling. I'm almost emotional about, understanding at a spiritual level the sacrifice of the villains in my life, the roles they have played so that I could grow and I could do my assignment and my curriculum. Right? We have, I think perhaps in closing, from Tanishta. Tanishta, do you want to speak it out and come on the call?
Yeah, so I just wanted to thank both of you. I really, really loved the conversation. There were many things which were new to me and they touched me deeply, especially the concept of, moving from the drama triangle, which is victim, perpetrator, and rescuer, and from that moving towards uh, coach, truth teller, and creator. And for me personally, one of the biggest takeaways from this conversation was that acknowledging the wound, at the same time taking responsibility of the wound together. So I'm really grateful for the conversation that we had. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Tanishta. Francisca, would love to hear your voice.
Thank you, Nilima and Andrea. Well, I'm so totally vibrating with you and on my own lane, but very parallel with you. And I'm so excited that you're having this conversation in a very inspiring and flowing way. So I just added to the chat, I really hope that this conversation will be shared very broadly and widely. So I will be happy to contribute to that for sure. I am also happy that maybe the depth of the conversation is so profound. That I'm happy that the new science is offering more and more proof for what may feel like, oh, well, this is too airy or too vague, is really, really incredibly real. So, and maybe that's part of my fractal to help point out how it works to come into harmony for people with people. So yeah, thank you. I really appreciate your conversation.
Thanks so much, Francisca. Thank you. As I'm listening to you, I'm reminded, back in 2020, when we started Truth and Reconciliation, this was the hope, that even if a few of us gather in Zoom rooms around the world, and we intentionally and sincerely do the work of holding and healing our little piece of the whole, that somehow that will heal the whole. And we have just done this with no real support, no budget. We just do this year after year. And these profound conversations are happening like today's. And we trust that we are part of some grander scheme, right? If you say the body is a self-healing system, then this creation and evolution and earth is also a self-healing system. And we are all maybe part of the immune system of this greater whole. And we are getting activated and coming online and doing our little piece and firing this neuron or T cells or whatever the immune system cells are. We are cells in that immune system of creation and evolution. And it takes a few to impact the many.
Yeah.
So with that, Andrea, any last comments just to sum or just?
Yeah, some voice of lightheartedness here. Like, when I said like that the same thing when we have an idea and we go for it and then we think, whose idea was that? That wasn't such a good idea. It is really the same thing. There's so much also joke energy, funny energy. But at the end, it is like that we gather the wisdom. So we are becoming wiser creators. So we will not perpetuate the suffering and the gruel that we are seeing now. The new takes into account all the wisdom that we are gathering through that. That's a given. So we become really a good idea, but we will test it in like, okay, so let's put our wisdom in there for the next round, for the next stimulation that we are in. So we are not doing it for nothing. It's not only our own experiences, it is the wisdom gathering that we have through our experiences. And the Akash knows, the source knows. Yeah.
Also, one of the things that I put in the Shakti Leadership book is a day will come where we can make the journey consciously.
Yes.
You don't have to go through crisis and trauma.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
that will come from these learnings that will get embedded in the collective wisdom,
Mhm,
so
exactly.
that we can journey. That'll be so nice.
We go for it. We know. Yes.
So
Okay.
on that note, thank you so much, Andrea. Such a pleasure. Deep bow to your wisdom, to your work on behalf of the whole. Thank you for sticking to your lane and doing your assignment and your curriculum with such pizzazz and brilliance and commitment and integrity. On behalf of the whole, I thank you.
Thank you.
I see you and I thank you. With that, good evening, good day, and good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.